I was 23 years old. If you ask my friends and family, they would have told you that I hadn't made. I had just finished my master's in international studies. I had bought my first property, a condo in downtown Toronto. And I really thought that, I made Beyonce proud. I had it all together. I was all independent. Or so I thought.
I was 33 years old, and I had finished university, moved to Toronto, got myself a job with a big tech company, and I was working in sales, and I was making a lot of money. It felt so good. I defined my manhood by how much money I could make. My immigrant parents were proud of me, and I could help my mom with the mortgage. It really felt good.
The thing about things that are shiny on the outside is that often there are deeper dilemmas brewing on the inside. And certainly that was no exception for us, although we didn't know each other at that time. For me, it looked like this. It was Friday, and I'd go home from work from my 20th job by 23, trying to find, I'm sure everyone can relate, that job, that ultimate job that you're looking for, that you're gonna love. I just didn't find it. And on Saturday mornings when I tried to wake up, get ready for the weekend, I could barely get myself out of bed. And I didn't really know why either. I just kept wondering and questioning and often just crying and no idea why. The only thing that was clear to me is that I needed a change. I just didn't know what that change would be just yet.
The truth is, I was lying. I was lying to myself. I lied to my family. I lied in my relationships. I felt like a fraud at work. The thing is, I studied art at school, drawing, painting, sculpture. And I was working in technology because I was afraid of being a starving artist. We both lived our lives at that point to avoid our fears.
And I'm sure that everybody in here can relate. Instead of actually thinking about what I really wanted and going after that, with all my fears intact, I actually chose everything based on avoiding showing that I was sensitive, avoiding depending on anyone else, which is really funny, and avoiding admitting that, honestly, the education, the master's, the private sector job, the condo, everyone else was excited for me, but I didn't really feel it. And then I felt guilt and shame for being that entitled millennial who has it all and isn't happy with it. It didn't feel good.
I was hiding that I was an artist. I was ashamed and afraid, and it ran my life. I would hear these things growing up as a kid. Oh, you're gonna be a starving artist, so what are you gonna do after you graduate school? How are you gonna take care of a family? You're gonna do that with art? Yeah, I laughed too. It resonated with me and it stuck. And that fear and that angst, I forgot that it was there and it was just running my life. It was automatic. Right around that same time of feeling like I was losing respect as a man if I didn't make that money, my best friend got cancer. And I would go to visit him in the hospital. He was getting his chemo, and we'd talk. And I asked him a question. What would be his biggest regret knowing he was going to die? His answer to that question shifted the course of my life. 1 week later, he died. 6 months later, I resigned from that job in tech to pursue a career and a life as a creative. And I've been doing so ever since.
For me, the tipping point came in the form of an Amazon.ca order. It was a little less profound and intense for sure, but it was Elizabeth Gilbert's Eat, Pray, Love. I know. It's cheesy, I get it. But at the time, I mean, first of all, you would never have known, because I would never have admitted it, that I would have ordered such a book. But it was the first time I had encountered another woman who was successful professionally, who lived in New York City, who had the whole cocktail life bling, she had it all together, and yet she too had this burning question and this burning desire for more. And she left it behind to, eat, pray, and love. And, it would be a matter of months before the impact of that book continued to settle in and simmer with me. And so I, with my then boyfriend, decided to end our relationship. With that, the condo was now his. My $40,000 investment and pride in being debt-free except for that mortgage, well, new story. That was gone too. And the thing is, I felt free. And the way that life works sometimes is that 6 months later you meet Ricardo. He throws your world around, and in 100 days you scare everybody in your life because you move in with him, you resign from your market research position, you start a business and you cut your hair short. It's been 6 years, and everybody knows we're not as crazy as we once looked. So it's actually 2,055 days today that we get to share with you that we've been collaborating in this crazy adventure, unknown, leaving that familiar path behind, one hand in each other's, and all those fears schlepping along in the back with us, to live free and to feel free. And the thing is, we also discovered something pretty radical and something equally confronting, causes me to sweat even now, which is that
when we collaborate with our fears, we feel free. We began to relate to fears like that annoying family member that everybody has that comes over at the holiday. Like, oh, okay. So, so that person comes over and it's like fear, and you're like, okay, let's ignore fear.
But you're blood related and you gotta deal with them.
Keeps coming back. You can't conquer fear. You can't overcome fear. You can't muscle through it. This is what people will tell you to do. The thing is, fear is here to stay. But what if fear is here to help us win? Fear is here to actually work with us. We use fear and embrace it in our relationship, with our money, with our clients, on projects, hundreds of projects. Time and time again, we embrace this fear. And I'll tell you a little story about love. I met Gloria January of 2010, and we went on our first date on March 30th, 2010. We were both very busy, extremely alone, and getting our stuff done. But while we were sitting there at dinner, it struck me. I looked into her eyes, and I knew that I'd spend the rest of my life with this woman. And in that moment, like a lightning bolt, that's too fast. You can't know. She's white, you're black. What will people think? But I've never been more sure of anything in my life. And the fears are there. There's 15-year age difference between us.
I remember your lip twitching.
Like it is now. And with that fear and in that moment, I took a deep breath. I looked at Gloria. And I said, would you like to spend the rest of your life getting to know me? She said yes, and we've never left each other's side since that point. We collaborated with fear for freedom in love.
Well, and then there's money. That little thing that Miss Independent never wanted to merge with anyone else, and that Ricardo in his manhood wanted to keep to himself. We also collaborated with our fears around money, and it came in the form of the largest contract we had ever received in our entrepreneurial career together. We weren't yet one company. We still kept our two companies separate and subcontracted to each other across the room. But we did land a big project 3 months before our wedding in 2012. And it would be, in 1 month, what we would have made at our best paid years as salaried employees. So it's pretty epic for us, and I would say for probably anyone else with that kind of a win. Except the thing was that it also landed the same week we had our stag and dough planned, which is what we do in this culture to raise money for that unaffordable wedding that you want. And so we had to cancel our stag and dough. We had to assemble a team, we were the lead strategists, between Toronto and Trinidad to fly across to Trinidad, our client being the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and deliver a project within 30 days. No delays possible, because remember, we're getting married, and of course, payments happen on government time. So we had to front the project with whatever we had, which was all of our money saved for the wedding. Probably not what your finance advisor would tell you to do, but just the same, we knew this was worth it. We were so ready to just do a global project on a global stage, and the opportunity was right here in front of us. Sometimes you ask for things, then they show up, and you have to make sure you're ready. And well, we got ourselves ready. We looked at each other the day before the project started, once we had landed in Port of Spain, with a team of 10 who had no idea we were sweating, not sleeping, and using our own money to pay them for now, and took each other's hand again, and our fears, and said, let's make this happen.
Yeah.
Which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, but in this case it did. And so collaborating with fear to find freedom around money, business, and partnership, it works.
The thing is, in life, avoiding your fears is not freedom. It's actually the opposite of that. Avoiding your fears is very self-limiting. You feel choked. You feel safe, but you can't move. It's restrictive. People tell you to overcome it, but it never, ever goes away, and we all have it, every single one of us. What if we can work with our fears? What if our fears are here to help us? So how do you begin to work with fear? What we do is admit that you're afraid.
Step one.
Say that thing that is really at your core, the stuff that's icky, that you wish no one would know, and if they did, you would die. Say that. Voice it. Create it in the world. And then?
And now that you're sweating, possibly bloated, maybe you need a trip to the bathroom, and you're staring your fears in your face, resistance shows up. That thing, you want to push it away. But instead, just like we're choosing to do right now, you can meet those same tingly feelings with grace and with empathy for yourself and for your humanity, because they've got a purpose to serve.
Dance with your fears. Fear is not going anywhere, so why not get to know it? Embrace it, do the little tango, and say, okay, we got this.
It's uncomfortable.
It's very, but we'll figure it out. But really embrace your fears and use them not to be paralyzed in thinking and thinking about them, but say, thank you. Thank you for showing up. I've got this. And step into your greatness. So dance with your fears. We dance with fears all the time as we move from a duo to now a trio pretty soon, next month. So we invite you to join us and dance with your fears.
And before you dance with them, to really take a moment right now and think about where in your life you're allowing fear to hold you back. Where at work are you choosing certain things because you're actually afraid of what you really want or the outcomes. What about in your love life? Are you like me, who's Miss Independent, who doesn't need nobody, but you really want somebody? Or maybe even the way you parent. Are you parenting from love or from fear? Take today to really look at that. It's time.
We invite you to join us and dance with your fears.
To feel free. Thank you.
Thank you.